And we were in a good place. So in addition to the accreditation for IOP, we're formally regulated and we're audited. We know we were a good organisation formally in audit with prospects for further improvement. We nudged into the best companies list, ones to watch in 2008. We have employee engagement surveys, so we know 85% returns on those, and 85% of employees think it's a good deal working for us in terms of terms and conditions, communication, investment in their development. So with all of that in place, a strong organisational culture, and leadership and management development programmes and individual personal development plans for people at all levels in the organisation, we wanted to know how we could make it even more effective. How can we nudge it forward into something else, something better? And coming out of, and that wasn't the key driver, but it's a critical issue, 2006 Investors in People assessment said, why don't you invest more in coaching and mentoring? And we looked around and saw how that coaching approach in larger, different sector organisations had made a significant improvement in those companies, and we used case studies in our development of our pilot of KPMG and the health services to two other sectors. We invested in coaching. So what did we want to do in that, and how did we get there? We wanted to create a culture of continuous learning. It links back to the slide earlier that Alec put up about improvement and continuous learning and development. We wanted to introduce a coaching culture, so we needed to have people understand what coaching is about. How is it different? Is it different? We wanted that closer link between individual objectives and corporate objectives. And our managers were saying, we're very busy doing the day job, and we haven't got time to really stand off and think about how we can develop services. Now, I'm not just talking about strategic managers there, I'm talking about managers at functional levels within the organisation as well. And putting coaching in place and empowering individuals within the organisation or in teams to come up with ideas and solutions themselves, because that's the critical approach we took, would enable, we thought, managers to stand away from the delivery and use models of coaching and techniques of coaching to develop individuals and teams to enhance the business, allow them to stand back from some of the things they were being sucked into. And I hope some of that might be familiar in terms of your journeys and your organisations. So we wanted to empower them, basically, empower staff and teams and managers. It was almost a little bit about permission, I think. Sometimes in an organisation we talk about culture, communications and values, but sometimes people need to know that it's okay to actually come up with ideas and okay to, as leaders, create the environment, because we create the environment in which people come to work. We can't control everything, but we can create that atmosphere of encouraging people, empowering them to have ideas and to listen, and then, like other speakers this morning, to listen to what's being said and then do something. You said this, we've done that. And about getting that message out there 2 or 3 times. So it was about involvement and engagement. But also what we wanted to do was to, okay, we are investing in training. How do we know we're getting there? And what Patrick has circulated is a couple of graphs for you. Quite a simple, and if it is too simple, then I accept the challenge here. But we do training, but do we start with the end in mind? How do we know it's been successful? Do we evaluate our return on investment sufficiently? So we might send out traditionally, and we did this traditionally in the past, obviously, as all people probably have at some time, some pre-instruction for joining. You have your training on the day, you have your happy sheet, if we can call it that, about have you enjoyed the event, was it good, will it help you? But then we don't go back necessarily and evaluate what's happened after the event 3, 6, 9 months down the line. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done here to try and embed the learning and make sure we know what the return on investment has been. And talk a bit about that, really. So we wanted to see staff taking more responsibility for solving problems. We wanted to see coaching being used as a development technique. That's from managers to employees, but also coaching upwards and to your peers in the organisation, using those coaching techniques, and to suppliers and partner organisations. The skill sets we developed were transferable and usable in different areas. So we used it to address performance issues, to improve performance and develop our customers. Now, what was our approach? What did we do that might have been a little bit different in design and evaluation? We developed a pilot through a course. What we did in 2008 was we hit the top management team in terms of coaching skills, and we've rolled it out since. So these were heads of service, these were heads of functions. We developed a pilot with a range of those people in terms of what should we cover. We listened to that pilot, we tweaked our ideas. The concept was really the launch day. Why are we doing this? What's the context for this? Where is it going to take us? What are the perceived improvements going to be? Then we had a series of workshops, so 4 workshops, half a day, where they were working in teams and individually to look at how they'd applied the techniques. So we imparted techniques, we looked at how they could use those in various work situations, and we then asked them to reflect on how they had used them. So it was a chance for them to review in those workshops and reflect on examples of how they were going to use coaching approaches and how they practically did that. So they could describe a coaching process at the end of the day, but we're also talking then about how they would use it. And it doesn't always happen in the workshop. These were phased over months where they were coming back and saying how they'd taken the learning into the workplace, and they were using simple techniques, maybe like the GROW model, and all of that. But what we also did was we benchmarked where managers were. How did we know where we were starting off from? They did an assessment, 27 competencies, self-assessment, and the manager did it on them, and the colleagues did it to them. So we knew basically where managers were in terms of their ability to coach. And so what we did on that as well, that 360-degree appraisal against competencies, and it's terrible when you get a yellow card, isn't it? It really does throw you. So Ian, he did really well. Wait for the red one. We repeated that assessment 12 months later. So we were getting assessment from themselves, from their manager and their teams about had they moved on with the journey that we'd taken them on in terms of applying the coaching. How else did we embed the coaching? We missed the trick on the first launch, I think, and then we've made it good subsequently. We've now made it compulsory that people will do a Level 5 Chartered Management Institute accreditation in coaching and mentoring. So it is assessed. So to further embed the learning, they have to write an assessment, which is then assessed and then accredited. So it's actually giving them back a qualification as well, which is transferable. So if they're applying for other jobs in other organisations, they've got something tangible out of this event that they can hold and take with them. So we were evidencing through that as well the practical issues of saying, how did you embed the learning? What have you done differently? And we took that into 4 areas. How's it impacted on them, the team, the company, and the customers they deal with? How have they taken that coaching forward in the things they manage and they do? So we can actually evidence that learning. And on Patrick's handout, this other blue one that we've given you, there are some examples there of the return on investment that we think we've had. And it's the hard and the soft returns. For the money we invested in this training, we think we've had about 155% return. Because we don't count, let me just make this quite clear, we don't count managers' time in the event as downtime. It's actually their day job to go into these coaching sessions. So it's not seen as an added extra cost. It's part of our day-to-day work. And that return on investment has been tangible in terms of reduction in workforce turnover, sickness absence. We've achieved improvements in our voids, because if we don't let homes, we can't get rent, which affects our business plan. And managers are saying it's because of some of the techniques they used to take into teams and discuss the issues of how they can improve services. You might call it business efficiency, but they hang it off the coaching programme and say that really helped them develop tools to describe issues and look for solutions. So we've seen improved customer satisfaction. We've had an improved customer satisfaction survey in the last 2 or 3 years. Customers are more happy with what we're doing. And there's a bit of information on there about return on investment. And we've built capacity in the organisation at the end of the day. You know, we had a value of empowerment and professionalism. 2 values there, sorry. We've empowered the organisation, we think, in terms of allowing them, giving them permission to start to look at coaching techniques locally and how they can improve their situation. We've reduced staff turnover, as I've said, and better working relationships generally have been achieved. So that is really, I suppose, our journey. We started off by trying to nudge the organisation forward a little bit. We felt coaching could enhance the organisation. We wanted to know that it had made a difference. We looked at a pilot, we looked at workshops, we've looked at evaluation post-process in terms of management competencies 12 months after the event, so we know it's made a difference. And that's from the people they manage as well as their manager, and their own self-reflection and review. And we've seen some tangible rewards, and I think some of these are quite adequately captured on this form. So happy now to take any questions you may have.